On behalf of the ACE Internationalization Lab Steering Committee, I'm pleased to welcome you to this Campus Internationalization Lab update. Since March of 2021, 22 members of the Cal Lutheran community have served as a think tank to work on the American Council on Education Internationalization Laboratory process. A recording of the launch program and overview of the internationalization review model is available on the university's ACE Internationalization Laboratory website. As a brief refresher, Cal Lutheran was selected to participate in the national review process conducted by ACE with a vision to establish inclusive excellence in successful comprehensive internationalization. Our primary work to date has been identifying a baseline measurement of Cal Lutheran's internationalization efforts across the campus. To accomplish this task, the think tank members were organized into working groups to address academics, mobility, and co-curricular findings. The think tank members outreached to various thought partners throughout campus and collected information from their respective university areas. Also, last fall, the think tank members administered 2 campus questionnaires to collect data from faculty, staff, and students. The results of all of this information has been compiled into a written report. And our next step is to host an external review site visit on May 2nd. We have 2 goals for today's presentation. First is to provide an update from lead representatives from the various working groups to highlight findings regarding academics, international students, away programs, and co-curricular opportunities. And the second goal is to invite feedback and additional input from our campus community prior to the external review site visit.
Well, I'm Gregor Freeland. I'm a faculty member here at California Lutheran University in the Global Studies program and in the Department of Political Science. And I'm also a member of the AC Internationalization Lab Steering Committee. So I'm here today to introduce the academics part of this process. And it's intricately linked to what we want to do academically here, this internationalization process, because one, we are looking at restructuring our major requirements for our students. And we are also going through a strategic plan, all of which fits well with internationalizing our university. So key findings of work that we've done already suggest that academic areas align very well with numerous projects and initiatives of what's in motion here at Cal Lutheran at the moment. So since addresses of internationalization within these academic areas is broad, my colleagues and I will share updates from the subgroups, and they will address learning outcomes, policies and procedures, and partnerships. Doctors Tai Wandi, Dan Rodriguez-Kino, and Christina will address these areas respectively. So without any further ado, let's begin with that process.
I'm glad to share with you where we are as an institution on students' learning outcome related to the internationalization. Discussion on global and international learning is indirectly emerged within the mission of the university. However, those learning outcomes are not clearly defined for proper assessment and documentation for student experience. Here at Cal Lutheran, each academic program has defined their understanding of global and international learning in different ways. And these definitions vary from one program to the other, and the intensity to which these goals are reflected vary from across the program. Now, here at Cal Lutheran currently, the institution does not have clearly developed learning outcomes associated with global and international dimension of undergraduate education. Our closest attempt to development of the goal at the undergraduate level is the cross-cultural competency designated as culture and civilization within a core 21 general education requirement. Now, with the absence of clearly defined goals associated with global and international dimensions of undergraduate education, there's definitely no process or framework currently in place for assessing student achievement of these goals. Now, the perception of global and international learning outcomes by faculty and staff also vary with individual programs and departments. For example, for staff in co-curricular and support areas, there are pockets of staff who, through their personal experiences and exposures, are aware and also perceive global international learning as integral elements of educational process. Throughout the institution, there is support of the mission and effort to promote global learning, but quantifiable measurement is not yet in place to assess students' learning. We're hoping that with a lot of initiative going on campus, we'll be able to fill a lot of these gaps that exist in terms of our students' learning outcome for internationalization. Thank you. I'll now hand over to Dan to talk about the next phase of the academic side.
Hi, and welcome. Thank you so much for listening to this portion of the ACE Internationalization Task Force, Faculty, Policies, and Practices. My name is Diane Rodriguez-Kino, and I'm the department chair in the Department of Ed Leadership in the Graduate School of Education. In this talk, I'm going to highlight 5 areas of our work across faculty policies and practices. The first is how global is Cal Lutheran, a survey that we distributed as a task force to our academic community. The second is the importance of global engagement to the academic field. And then I'm going to discuss whether or not the institution is rewarding or penalizing internationalization or international activities, then promoting faculty engagement, and then barriers to faculty engagement. So first, again, we distributed this questionnaire, how global is Cal Lutheran, to our academic community. We have roughly 400 full and part-time faculty members, and we had over 100 faculty respondents. So that was a nice 25% response rate. Among those who responded, 50 faculty members cited that they worked overseas. They also acknowledged that the most commonly spoken languages were English, Spanish, French, Chinese, and Arabic. The most popular geographic region to emerge across course content, teaching, and research was Western Europe. And then roughly 20 faculty members claimed that they taught overseas. In terms of the importance of global engagement to the academic fields, I won't read all of these quotes, but these are direct excerpts from the survey from faculty who wanted to acknowledge the importance of internationalization to their academic work. The very first quote here I will read, "My work focuses on non-human primate ecology. These animals do not occur in the United States, so all my research has to be conducted overseas in habitat countries." The third area to discuss today is sort of like whether or not the institution is rewarding or penalizing internationalization or international activities. And first, we'd just like to point out that the mission statement of the university emphasizes that we are, as faculty, educating future leaders for a global society. But we're not exactly putting our money where our mouth is. So Cal Lutheran does not necessarily penalize or reward faculty for international activities. When we took a snapshot of current job descriptions, and we looked at roughly like 6 to 10 over the last 6 months, those job descriptions did not show that Cal Lutheran is asking for international engagement or expertise as part of the job requirements or in the job ad. In terms of tenure and promotion, the process, it's a very holistic, comprehensive, and lengthy process, and it does not ask for international engagement, expertise, or experiences. In terms of promoting faculty engagement, Cal Lutheran does not necessarily promote international activities among faculty. Again, we were able to pull a lot of this information from the survey that we distributed to the community. There is a professional development fund of up to $2,400, and it's available for international travel for junior faculty. It's also available for domestic travel. So whether or not a faculty member chooses to apply to international travel is his or her choice as a junior faculty member. Since 2011, 81 full-time faculty members have presented their work overseas. This is a fantastic number. Unfortunately, not all of these presentations have necessarily been supported by the university. And over the last decade, faculty have pursued 42 independent and 44 collaborative research activities with little to no support from the university. It should be noted that the School of Management works in collaboration with the International Business School in Austria. And also, I'd like to point out, it's not on this slide, but the Center for Global Engagement, led by Cristina Sanchez, also supports faculty in designing courses that can be led and taught abroad. So those opportunities are available. In terms of barriers to faculty engagement, again, this was pulled from the survey results. Cost and time rank as the two most prohibitive barriers to faculty engagement. The Professional Development Fund, though it is available, and it's again up to $2,400, is the only available funding source for faculty when seeking financial support for their academic endeavors abroad. Building relationships with international scholars requires time and money, and faculty cited in the survey that they're often stretched so thin that these are just two areas that they can't devote to building relationships and trying to create those collaborative academic projects with international scholars. Other notable barriers that were listed in the survey include a lack of resources and support from department heads and the university as a whole. So this is a snapshot of faculty policies and practices. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Diane. I have the pleasure of sharing some comments about partnerships and scholarship at Cal Lutheran. We are at a historical moment in our work here at the institution as we have completed the first 12 months of process related to applying for designation as a visiting scholar institution from the US government. If we receive this status, which hopefully we will have final approvals within the next few months, then we will have opportunity to officially host J1 scholars, both in student and faculty status. This step takes us forward in an opportunity to look at official partnerships and connections with institutions in different places around the world. It also opens up more opportunities for our students to look at spending extended time at different institutions beyond our partnerships that we see with program providers, but for connections with other colleges and universities. At present, we have some informal partnerships that we sustain, and this is in Australia, Austria, Japan, Hong Kong, and Scotland. And so we are eager to look at expanding that community base. When we have a J1 designation, we can also bring in faculty to enrich our campus and work with our current faculty on research, publication, guest lecturing, serving as adjunct faculty for periods of time. So there's a lot of possibilities that we look forward to as we pursue this new designation. We're very cognizant as well of our Hispanic serving institution status and wanting to be more intentional in the work that we pursue, looking beyond a Western Europe and Asia parameter, but looking around the world and not forgetting our neighbors to the south. We currently have one ongoing partnership in Guanajuato, Mexico, but we are looking at expanding so that we have more opportunities for students and not just focused on language learning, but looking at any academic discipline as we pursue some additional partnerships. In our work, we are excited to expand upon the already good efforts and initiatives our faculty at Cal Lutheran have made from their own presentations and scholarship and linkages around the globe, so that we can showcase and celebrate all the international activities that we have at play. The following presenters will now share information related to mobility matters at Cal Lutheran, including our away programs and international students. First, our Director for the Office of Education Abroad, Dr. Matthew Yates, will share an update on away programs, followed by comments from the Director of International Admissions, Dane Rowley, who will provide details about international recruitment efforts and our international student body. Finally, the Managing Director of the ELS CLU MBA Pathways Program and Interim Director of International Students and Scholars, Carol Sweat, will discuss co-curricular elements of internationalization at Cal Lu.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Matt Yates, the Director of the Office of Education Abroad. Hope all is well. Quick updates on the ACE Internationalization Lab report for Focus Area G, Mobility and Away Programs. Anita, Rafaela, Emma, and I drafted our narrative back in December, so I just want to give you a quick summary of that ahead of the site visit that we have coming up, which I'm very excited about. We did report out all the different types of programs models that we have, so graduate and graduate level. We identified some areas of improvement, which just in sum to try to encourage our STEM faculty in particular to talk with their students more about the very strong possibility for their students to go abroad and not necessarily interrupt their path toward graduation. That's something June here, very excited about working with them in the future on. We're also trying to reboot our Global Ambassador Program. If you recall, we had students, peer advisors, essentially returnees, who are our best voice in trying to encourage students to go abroad. So since we haven't had any alumni recently, we are very excited to try to reboot that program as we have returnees coming back this last academic year. And also very high on my list are to try to update all of our policies and procedures, everything from health and safety and risk to liability and compliance, to ensure that we give everything a good once over in light of the pandemic. As you know, the travel registry has shifted from essential travel to traditional. I'm very excited about this. That happened the week of April 4th. So if you have any questions about that, please reference the CGE website for the travel policy. But I really am excited that travel will be a little more streamlined for all folks, students, staff, and faculty. Our trends, so before the pandemic, we had about 171 students per year who were participating in programs. I think it could be stronger than that after the pandemic. And we've already seen great uptick in the last academic year. In fall of 2021, we had 11 students. In the spring, we had 35 students, or currently do. We have then slated 28 students for the summer and 33 for fall. So fall to fall comparison is about a triple increase. That's great. So I'm really hoping to see even more increases next academic year. We did also discuss some financing and pricing in the narrative, the draft narrative. So our most important update on this is, as you may know and may recall, our Cal Lutheran programs model, where students on semester programs can take all of their aid with them, scholarships and financial aid. So that's something that seems to be pretty successful in this last year in getting students who otherwise wouldn't have been able to go abroad to participate. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go in the next academic year. And then integration and reentry is something I'm very passionate about, as I know Junhee is as well. So we have some ideas as to how to enhance our pre-departure and reentry programming for students, co-curricular, maybe implementing more events for students to reflect with themselves and with their peers before they go on their identities, and then also to do so when they return, and maybe even implementing something like an e-portfolio system. These are best practices in the field, ones that we're very excited to try to implement. So in sum, the future looks bright, even though there are hiccups here and there, as this not live presentation is indicative of. But we do have our work cut out for us.
Hello and welcome to this portion of the ACE Internationalization Task Force update. My name is Dane Rowley and I'm Director of International Admission. And I'm here to share some quick notes about mobility of international students and admission and students that have come to study at Cal Lutheran. So I'll talk a little bit about some graduate and undergraduate historical trends, assessing our recruitment plans, and additional considerations or initiatives that are part of our report. So since 1992 to 1993, so going back quite a bit, a total of just under 3,400 F1 international students been enrolled, representing 116 countries. There are some students that are missing from this data. Any student who started as an international student, but at some point in the last 30 years, either became a permanent resident or dual citizen or a different visa holder, then those students would not be reflected. So we may be missing 100 or two, perhaps 200 students from that. But of that group, about 24, almost 2,500 were graduate students representing 88 countries. And you can see the breakdown there of the graduate schools. This number for PLTS is underreported based on the acquisition of PLTS and addition of PLTS. Before that point, I'm sure there were more international students, but we don't have the same data systems. So we don't have that data as of yet. 961 or 28% of the international students were undergraduate students representing 90 countries, 322 first-year students, about 400 transfer students, and then about 200 exchange or non-degree seeking students that have come to Cal Lutheran throughout the years. This shows visually where that starts. The early years in the 90s were really focused on undergraduate recruitment, and then in the early 2000s, the School of Management began to recruit very heavily for both the MBA program as well as for MSCS, which doesn't exist anymore, but the Master's of Science in Computer Science. But the MBA really was a big driver of those international numbers over the years. And then the MPPA program also enrolled a number of Saudi Arabian students. Those two groups of students, students from mainland China, as well as from Saudi Arabia, really peaked about 8 or 9 years ago. And then since then, those numbers have continued to decline. And then of course the pandemic, 2020 to 2021 have been certainly a steeper decline in both traditional transfer students as well as graduate students. The top 10 countries of origin historically have been China, Taiwan, Austria, Saudi Arabia, India, Norway, Sweden, Thailand, France, and Japan. I'll share a note about why Austria is in that top 3 in a few slides. Undergraduate recruitment. So this is some assessment we've done for this ACE Internationalization Laboratory, as well as what we operate under generally. Our primary markets being Scandinavia, Southeast Asia, and other parts of East and South Asia, and then Central and South America, which is a little bit more recent. Emerging markets, places where we're seeing an uptick in applications. We may do some in-person recruitment in the future. Central Asia, East Asia, Indonesia, Middle East. The pandemic has helped us do a lot more virtual recruitment in those regions. But our main initiatives and focus areas for recruitment have been connections with individual high schools, both local high schools in those markets, as well as international schools, and as well as US-based international students. A lot of our international students have come from US high schools where they've been exchange students or have started at a US community college, primarily in California. College choice influencers, this refers to agencies or nonprofit organizations as well, things like Education USA, which is a diplomatic side of the State Department that focuses on promoting US higher education around the world. So working with those folks who work directly with individual students and also doing workshops. And then finally, we have some marketing and advertising that we've done throughout the years of purchasing names, lead generation, search optimization, and things like that. At the graduate level, our primary markets have been less regional and more country specific. So India, China, Taiwan, Japan, and Thailand have been primary markets for us. And then emerging markets, those in South Asia, not India, as well as in South America and Sub-Saharan Africa. Graduate recruitment initiatives are focused on agents and agent-based recruitment. So this is where we train and have agents. We have a signed agreement with agencies that recruit for us on our behalf, and we do training with them and maintenance with that. We also have some targeted Chinese recruitment by a US national that lives in Chengdu, China, has continued to operate throughout the pandemic as he works with agencies as well as individual high schools and other partners. We also do quite a bit of virtual fairs recently, but historically a lot of in-person college fairs, and then that joint marketing and advertising as well. A couple other considerations. We've had a historical partnership with ELS Language Centers. We continue to have that partnership, even though the center on campus The physical center on campus is temporarily closed, but we launched in 2020 a MBA pathway program where, through a partnership with ELS, the students who need additional academic and English support start. They have an intensive 9-month program where they take foundation classes, improve their English, and then they matriculate directly into the MBA program and then finish in about 5 terms after that. We also promote our 4+1 programs at Cal Lutheran. So students, primarily in our business program, students who finish up their bachelor's degree and then continue an MBA in their 5th year. We also have been working with the school management and international admission with support from the Alumni Relations Office. So in the last 9 years have conducted quite a few gatherings of alumni in Thailand, in Taiwan, in China, in Norway, and in Austria. Test optional admission, we officially became test optional for international students in 2016, although for several years we were unofficially or kind of practically test optional. And then I mentioned Austrian students. So of the 1,400 graduate international students in the School of Management over the years, about 400 of those have come through this program, this Austrian or European MBA program, where cohorts of students, between 20 to 50 students, study almost all their degree in Europe. And then for the last few weeks, they come to the US, enroll in some seminars, work with faculty, do some site visits to local businesses, and then they walk in our annual commencement. So that's a program that has seen less international students on the main campus, nonetheless still have graduated Cal Lutheran MBA graduates over the years in quite a few numbers. So just last minute, I'll give a quick update on what we've been doing. A lot of virtual engagement and recruitment, heavy agency training and vetting new agencies virtually. We have been doing some in-person high school recruitment, as well as community colleges during the pandemic, and starting right now doing some recruitment in Norway. And then in the fall, we hope to get back and do quite a bit of recruitment travel. We have been reassessing our marketing and our recruitment travel to be good stewards of university funds and resources. Really analyzing what is the best use of our time and our energy and our funds. We are going to be doing some in-person recruitment, but we also see that there is some really good stewardship that comes out of virtual recruitment. So we'll be doing a lot of hybrid activities over the next few years, really saving the in-person trips to the highest value and highest yielding programs as we continue to look out for institutional funds as well as for environmental impact as well. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. Thank you.
Very much, Matt and Dane. As mentioned before, I'm Carol Sweat, and I have the pleasure of co-chairing the co-curricular subgroup with Mary Jo Shane in the School of Management. What I would like to do, okay. So to talk about the co-curricular internationalization opportunities, what I'd like to do is just basically talk about the historical elements of the co-curricular events and activities on campus, a couple of glimpses at the survey results that we put out in 2021 for staff, faculty, and students. I'd also like to discuss the way that faculty, staff, and students can promote co-curricular activities, and also some of the current things that are going on to promote co-curricular opportunities and events for students here on the campus. Historically, co-curricular offerings were probably started in the last 30, 35 years, and many activities were really through International Multicultural Student Services Department. Most focused on increasing awareness of inclusion and culture, and they would have monthly history formats, Black History Month, Asian History Month, things like that. We had multiple clubs and social groups formed with excellent attendance, Club India, African Student Association, the Saudi Student Association, and the United Students of the World, among many others. We also really promoted International Education Week, which has been started by the US Department of Education, the cultural area, and it included events that also had a World Fair that was a yearly event in November. it was really a very popular event, and there would be many types of things, not just food choices, but dancing and music and a lot of the cultural things that are associated with different nationalities and groups. We also celebrated Asian New Year, the foreign film series, which originated in the language and literature department. We would have international photo contests, writing competitions. We also had a lot of English language support, both through the curriculum in the School of Management with Communication Cafe, but also Conversation Cafe, which was with our partner institution, ELS, English Language Services, and students from there and also from Cal Lutheran could attend weekly meetings to really work on just conversational English. Of course, the historical annual Scandinavian Festival is a big part of the offerings, and then we would have visiting lectures and events. The survey reflections some of the qualifying features that we have to talk about, because the last few years were very pandemic related, and a lot of the curricular courses and events have maintained, but not necessarily true of co-curricular activities and events. And I think that may have skewed the scores that we will see in a few minutes. Many staff, faculty, administrators were instrumental also in planning and promoting and implementing many activities, but now have since retired or were not available for feedback. Also, many students in the survey are younger, either freshmen, sophomores, and they never participated because we didn't have a lot of on-site events. So they didn't know about a lot of our previous activities. Also, the online classes made co-curricular efforts and events difficult to plan and were not always well attended. Just a glance at the survey results. International Education Week. When surveyed 168 students, 93 were not aware, 52 were aware but didn't attend, and 20 were aware and attended. Faculty and staff, out of 114, 47 were not aware, 30 were aware and attended, and 24 attended. The World Fair, students, 163, 74 were not aware, 65 aware but not attended, 24 aware and attended. As you see, a lot of these scores are just indicative of what I had explained before. I think because of the fact that the past couple of years we weren't having a lot of these on campus, it wasn't available. They weren't aware of them, so they didn't know that. One of the things we also started back in 2020 during the pandemic was our global living and learning communities area, and that's in Kramer Court. Again, students, 162 are not aware, 78 not aware, 61 are aware but not attended events there, 23 aware and attended. Out of the faculty, large majority were not aware of this, and 28 are. 7 were aware and promoted this to students. Now, a lot of times, historically and now, we're having more lectures, presentations, performances with an international focus. As you can see, we have more students, 40 that have attended visiting lectures, 26 have attended workshops and panels, and 23 have attended performers and artists that have been here with an international focus. Faculty, out of 114, 27 have hosted lectures and scholars, 12 have hosted workshops, panels, 6 have hosted performers or artists of various sorts, and then 8 oral history, readings, stories, and then we have various others as well. Now, some of the exceptions and barriers to co-curricular events, a lot of this report, a lot of faculty, staff, and students lack of time and resources. Student resistant to courses on international themes. Study abroad in the curriculum is not required. In the School of Management, it's not required, but it is highly recommended for certain programs. Also a lack of interest. This was a big one, differences in undergrad and grad schedules, because usually our grad programs are in the evening and we have events in the evening. It's not easy for them to participate in some of the programs. Again, we heard over and over funding, resources, and a lack of awareness. Some getting approval from department chairs, and then funding, coordinating, creating, and sustaining the networks responsible and also needed to be able to have consistent programs. Some of the faculty and staff suggestions were student engagement opportunities with intercultural workshops, activities which allow students to discover themselves in the context of student engagement opportunities, which I think is excellent with intercultural workshops, activities which allow students to discover themselves in the global community, and then planned intentional service learning projects, gatherings with global community. I think that's also something that was repeatedly recognized. More faculty and administrators need educational visits to international institutions to broaden their perspectives. We used to have something called the Lunchbox Diversity Series that was excellent, reported as excellent. If it could be expanded to include students, that would be great. Integrating the international students on campus and also bringing the study abroad students into the focus, as they have valuable experiences to contribute, and they will empathize with the international student dilemma of feeling like an outsider. And creating an environment where all feel welcomed and have opportunities to interact outside of the classroom. Everyone is so busy and there's little time to interact and connect with others. Student suggestions. Programs that focus on Indigenous populations would be interesting. All festivities, clubs, and events, they're about minority cultures. I wish there were more panel discussions to foster more cultural exchange, more programs on scholarships from global learning, student engagement opportunities with intercultural workshops, more clubs that showcase different cultures, also more seminars from people with different cultural backgrounds. I'd like to hear if they use different or similar research methods to us in other countries, and what benefits, detriments those methods bring with them. I want to see more classes on different parts of the world. I want to see more languages and religions available to learn about. Maybe just more involvement in classes. People's schedules can be busy, so they can't attend all the events, but talking about it in class or just mentioning it can maybe help people become more involved. I think the resources are there, but people don't know how to ask. And any curricular programming would be interesting to have at CalLU. Faculty and staff do promote co-curricular activities by advising and providing financial support for international student clubs and cultural appreciation events. They also stated that they are promoting international, and we do have international business seminars, IBS in the School of Management. This has been going on for quite a few years. Creating courses with international lenses and travel seminars, making sure the relevance to students is made clear to them, why global learning is important for building intercultural competence. Then students will participate in the opportunities. Promoting Foreign Film Festival, promoting education abroad programs, making mandatory, and promoting the global leaders community. Recent additions to co-curricular offerings. Right now we have, and it's going very, very strong, the Global Living and Learning Community as well. The Center for Cultural Engagement and Inclusion has been having a lot of events all throughout campus. So what seems to be happening is that it's going from just one office, one siloed office, to other multiple departments as well, which is a really good flow for co-curricular events to be a part of the campus and not just coming from one area. We also have the increased commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion with our DEI committee, which they are also doing a lot of culture and recreation activities. They're starting to cultivate a diverse and welcoming environment, and we have rich educational experiences, which are helping to increase the intentional connections. So in summation, CLU is entering a new growth phase with an increase in the availability of co-curricular programming from many departments. As the departments align with the university mission, co-curricular seems and will be necessary to increase the experiential nature of learning so we can prepare students to live in socially just communities The rigorous and relevant co-curricular activities, as I mentioned, must be an integrated part of the curriculum. And we have distinguished faculty on our campus who went through this interview process, who have international perspective and real world experience that can be transformed also into co-curricular offerings, which will increase the critical thinking, intercultural competencies, and help to understand multiple perspectives. And as I said, we have a lot of resources on our campus. So thank you very much. And now I would like to remind you that information about this area and all of the think tank findings will be provided on the Cal Lutheran ACE Internationalization Laboratory website. Now, to close our session, Christina will provide an update on next steps for the review.